Have you ever had that gut feeling, that sinking sensation in your stomach that tells you something is terribly wrong, even when your mind is trying to convince you otherwise? I'm here today to share a story, a personal one, that starts with a tiny detail I almost missed. A detail so small, it could have been nothing. But it wasn't. It was the first loose thread that unraveled my entire world. My wife, Sarah, and I had been married for 5 years. To me, our marriage was solid. We had our ups and downs, sure, like any couple, but I believed we were happy. We were building a life together, planning for the future, talking about starting a family. I loved her more than anything. I thought she felt the same. The day it all began was just a normal Tuesday. I came home from work a little earlier than usual. The house was quiet. Sarah was in the living room, scrolling through her phone, looking completely relaxed. I walked over, leaned down to kiss her, and that's when I saw it. Her engagement ring. It was on her finger, but it was backwards. The diamond, the beautiful stone I'd spent months saving for, was facing her palm. Now you might be thinking, so what? People put their rings on backwards all the time. A simple mistake. That's exactly what I told myself. It was probably nothing. Maybe she took it off to wash her hands and just slipped it back on without looking. It made sense, so I tried to brush it off. I said, "Hey, honey," trying to sound casual, "your ring's on backwards." And that's when it happened. She froze. Not just a little pause, but a complete statue still freeze. Her eyes widened for a split second, a flicker of panic that she immediately tried to hide. She snatched her hand back, tucking it under her leg as if she'd been burned. "Oh," she said, her voice a little too high, a little too breathless. Silly me. I must have been in a rush this morning. She forced a laugh, but it didn't reach her eyes. The warmth I was used to seeing wasn't there. Instead, there was something else. A barrier. That single, bizarre reaction planted a seed of doubt in my mind. It was a tiny seed, but it was there. Why would she have such a strong reaction to such a simple observation? It just didn't add up. An innocent mistake gets a laugh, maybe a quick fix of the ring. It doesn't get that look of being caught. Over the next few days, that seed started to sprout. I started noticing other things, small inconsistencies I'd previously ignored. Her phone, which used to be left lying around anywhere, was now always with her, screen down. She started having late nights at the office more frequently, something her job never required before. When I'd call her, she'd often sound distracted, her answers short and vague. I remember one night she came home smelling faintly of a cologne that wasn't mine. When I mentioned it, she got defensive. "Must be from someone at work," she snapped. "Are you accusing me of something?" Her defensiveness was a red flag, but I still wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe in the woman I married. The backward ring incident kept replaying in my mind. Why would someone wear a ring backwards? The only reason I could think of was to hide it, to make it look like a simple band. But why would she need to do that? The question haunted me. I felt like I was going crazy, caught between my love for her and the growing mountain of evidence that something was wrong. I didn't want to be the suspicious, jealous husband. I wanted to trust my wife. But my gut was screaming at me. So, I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. Something that felt like a betrayal in itself. I decided to look for concrete proof. One evening, when she was supposedly working late again, I used the Find My Phone feature we both had enabled for emergencies. My heart was pounding in my chest. I told myself I was just being paranoid, that I'd see her icon right there at her office building, and I could finally put my mind at ease. But her location wasn't at her office. It was at a residential address across town, an apartment complex I didn't recognize. My blood ran cold. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. There could be a reasonable explanation, right? Maybe she was visiting a friend she'd never mentioned who lived in a part of town she never went to. The excuses were getting thinner and thinner. The denial was getting harder to maintain. I knew I had to go there. I had to see for myself. I drove to the address, my stomach in knots. I parked across the street, my mind racing with a million terrible possibilities. After about 20 minutes, the front door of one of the apartments opened. And there she was, Sarah. She was laughing, leaning against the doorframe. And then a man came out. He put his arm around her waist and kissed her. It wasn't a quick peck. It was a long, intimate kiss. It's the kind a husband and wife share. In that moment, my world shattered. The woman I loved, the woman I had built my life with, was living a double life. The man let go of her, and as she turned to walk towards her car, I saw her hand. She was slipping her engagement ring out of her pocket and putting it back on her finger. It all clicked. The backward ring. It wasn't an accident. She'd take it off when she was with him, then put it back on before coming home. That day I came home early. I must have caught her right after she'd put it back on, but in her haste, she'd put it on backwards. My simple question had interrupted her routine, catching her completely off guard. That's why she froze. Seeing it all play out in front of me was devastating. There was no more room for doubt, no more excuses. The truth was brutal and undeniable. I drove home in a daze. The image of her with that other man burned into my memory. When she got home an hour later, she was all smiles, asking about my day, acting as if nothing was wrong. The charade was sickening. I couldn't do it anymore. I just looked at her, my voice quiet but firm. "Who is he, Sarah?" The color drained from her face. The fake smile vanished. The same panic I saw in her eyes when I asked about the ring was back, but this time it was 1,000 times worse. She knew she was caught. There were no more lies to tell. The conversation that followed was the hardest one of my life. The confessions, the tears, the empty apologies. It turned out this had been going on for over a year. A whole year of lies and deceit. Looking back, the backward ring was the tip of the iceberg, but it was the catalyst. It was the universe giving me a sign that my gut was right all along. It taught me a painful but valuable lesson. Always trust your intuition. Those little details, the things that seem off, they often mean more than you think. Walking away from my marriage was the most painful thing I've ever had to do. But staying in a relationship built on lies would have been a slow, soul-crushing poison. The healing process has been long and difficult, and it's far from over. But I'm rebuilding. I'm learning to trust myself again. And I know that one day I will be okay. If you're going through something similar, if your gut is telling you something is wrong, please listen to it. Don't ignore the red flags just because the truth is painful. Your peace of mind is worth more than a comfortable lie. And remember, you are not alone. There are people who can help, whether it's friends, family, or a professional therapist. Reaching out is a sign of strength, not weakness. Thank you for listening to my story. Take care and please trust your gut.